Good morning, everyone. It's very good being here again at Crypto Asset Conference, this time obviously memorizing Philipp Sandner, but also discussing the most important topics of the industries. And yeah, really looking forward to the conference. My name is Jens. I'm a partner with KPMG and leading our digital asset practice here in Germany. I'm happy to talk about the implications and opportunities of MiCAR for especially regulated financial institutions. Maybe starting with an anecdote, I have the feeling that way too long we here in Germany especially have been proud of our national regulation of crypto assets and crypto-related services, sometimes maybe overseeing the large potentials and impact an EU regulation of the crypto market might have, not just only for the German market, but for Europe at all, and also for Europe in a global competition with other, let's say, large economies and countries around the world. So I'm happy to shed some light on that topic and go into a bit of discussion with you afterwards. So starting with some facts, what is MiCAR actually? I mean, it's first of all, it's an EU regulation for the crypto market and crypto-related services. And I think what is important to remember the R in MiCAR, meaning a regulation. It's directly applicable. The Markets in Financial Instruments Directive is a directive, always has to be translated into national law first. So MiCAR will have a significantly stronger impact when it comes to harmonizing the European market for crypto assets and crypto-related services in comparison to what MiFID did for traditional financial instruments. Because the step in between of translating MiFID into national law is not necessary for MiCAR. There's obviously some adjustments in national law necessary, but in the first step, MiCAR as a regulation is directly applicable. And I think that's one first important point to memorize. But what is MiCAR actually doing? And I mean, the impact is more important than what it actually is. And from our point of view, it creates the biggest single regulated market for crypto globally. Because the EU is relevant, right? We have 448 million citizens. We have a GDP of almost 17 trillion euros here. And MiCAR provides a comprehensive regulatory framework for crypto services within the entire European Union. If we look into other jurisdictions worldwide, China more or less is not, has a ban on crypto. The US is still discussing what kind of regulatory framework might be the right one. Europe is really leading here in this field, providing, clear regulatory framework and guidance to the industry and to everyone who's interested in providing regulated services in a safe and sound environment. How's MiCAR doing this? I mean, I really do not want to go too much into the details of a regulation. We only have 20 minutes, but from our point of view, it's really three buckets that make MiCAR important, and that's first crypto assets. We define what is a crypto asset. We provide a clear framework for the issuance of crypto assets and the initial trading. We have a framework for stablecoins for the first time in Europe. We had the e-money directive for some years, but MiCAR kind of lives on top of that and really provides a clear framework for the issuance and the servicing of stablecoins. And probably most important, we introduce regulated crypto asset services, very comparable to the financial services regulated in the MiFID for traditional financial instruments. We now have a list of clear services that can be provided around crypto assets. So the title of the presentation was, what is the impact and what are the implications and chances for the traditional financial industry? I want to walk through those three buckets and see a bit where might be the most interesting potentials living today. Starting with crypto assets. So once again, it's a framework for the public offering and trading of regulated crypto assets, and it also specifies crypto assets being utility token or so-called asset reference tokens. Asset reference tokens means a token that is kind of backed up by a basket or portfolio of secure assets and currencies. MiCAR defines some obligations to, for example, publish a white paper. I was a bit surprised by that terminology. I have to say it's more comparable to like a security prospectus, you could say. But there's some clear documentation requirements. You cannot just offer a utility token to the public without publishing a corresponding white paper. There are some exemptions, obviously, but let's talk about the general framework here for the time being. There are actually additional requirements for issuers of asset reference tokens, but I do not want to go into details on those one. In general, you can say that crypto assets that do not qualify as stablecoins and everything that is related around that in MiCAR probably only provides limited business potential for regulated financial institutions. You might consider coming up with something like a regulated issuing service that people who are interested or organizations in issuing utility tokens could kind of use your service. But at least also from our discussions in the market, everything around, let's say, Title 2 and 3 in MiCAR, I think is important to have it, but it's not necessarily providing large-scale business opportunities for banks and other regulated, established financial institutions. Let's look into the second buckets of stablecoins. Again, MiCAR provides a framework for the issuance of so-called e-money tokens. That's the terminology of stablecoins in the MiCAR. And at the same time, it defines very high market entry barriers to issue and service such stablecoins. As an issuer, you need to be a credit institution or a so-called e-money institution under the e-money directive. Both is not like a, let's say, a 2 weeks application process, but typically takes a bit longer. E-money institution comes one step before the full bank license. But there are indeed good reasons for the regulator to put the hurdle quite high, because stablecoins, as the name says, should be stable, right? So the issuer should really fulfill comprehensive and high regulatory requirements, so that kind of makes sense. If you have high market entry barriers and banks already fulfilling some of those, you might have a revenue potential and a revenue pool that is protected, right? It's not so easy to attack that one, so there might be an opportunity here for banks. However, stablecoins, due to their nature, I mean, it's a new form of money, a digital form of money. It's a natural monopoly, right? I mean, there will not be hundreds of stablecoins. If we look into the stablecoin market today, it's more or less a winner takes it all market, or a few winner takes it all market, right? So I would really consider issuing a stablecoin can be appealing in the first step, but you really should think through such an initiative to the very end, as it comes with relatively high investment, initial investment, and you really have to kind of be ready to become one of the few winners in the market. If you go into such an initiative, let's say with half speed, let's test around a bit, the probabilities to fail are pretty high, I would say. So you should really go all in if you want to take the stablecoin journey with you. Why is the revenue potential so attractive? Stablecoins cannot carry an interest. That's forbidden in MiCAR, so it's a non-interest bearing instrument, but it's 100% backed. So stablecoins, you kind of have all the reserves in safe custody, and you can invest up to 70% into high quality liquid assets. If you look into the current interest environment, this can be quite attractive from a revenue perspective. However, this also only holds true for the current interest rate environment. So you also have to keep in mind that your stablecoin project is very much dependent on the current interest rate environment that you face. And maybe last but not least, obviously we see large-scale stablecoins in the US like USDT, USDC that are very successful, but I would really say that the underlying use case, because money itself is useless in the first step, it has to be brought into some real-life use cases where it actually can be used, right? What is the true and the biggest use case of stablecoins today? It's the crypto fiat gateway. You kind of can swap from crypto into fiat relatively easy using stablecoins, but this is also happening at a, let's say, AML complex area in the financial market. So you should really consider if today's use cases of stablecoins that brought USDT and USDC into scaling is really one that you as a regulated bank or financial institution really want to jump on. So yeah, stablecoin in general, interesting topic, but yeah, you should really consider carefully moving into this opportunity. Coming to the third and last bucket, and probably the most interesting one, because it's very natural to banks, the crypto asset services. The MiCAR introduces 10 crypto asset services, very similar to the financial services that we know from the MiFID. It's like trading platform operation, it's a brokerage, custody, financial portfolio management. So all the services around typical crypto assets like Bitcoin, ETH, Matic, and others now become regulated in the entire European Union. You can apply for licenses or authorizations, as they are named in MiCAR, with your national competent authority. So here in Germany, it would be the BaFin. And the services and the license is passportable across the entire European Union. And now coming back to the opening slides of my presentation, that's the 70 trillion GDP market and the 448 million citizens, right? So that's a quite attractive, large-scale market. What also is quite cool is that for crypto asset services, there's a clear timeline for the authorization, approval, or rejection process that also gives some planability and predictability for everyone who considers moving into this market. And as I said, it creates a single European market for regulated crypto services, and that's obviously a relatively big opportunity for financial institutions. I would like to drill it down a bit, because if we look into market adoption and where might be the most attractive revenue pools in providing crypto asset related services, that probably in the short term would be in retail facing regulated crypto services like prime brokerage, trading, custody, etc. Why is that the case? I brought some numbers from the German market here, but if you look into statistics around Europe, that's quite comparable. So in Germany, roughly 13% of the population of people between 18 to 64 are currently invested in crypto assets. We have done some primary research as KPMG, asking more than 1,000 investors in a representative study, and came out with 12%. So there's some statistic error here, but let's say it's something around 10%, and that holds true for more or less all countries in the European Union. So 10% of the 448 million, drilling it down to people above the age of 18, that's 360 million people, are already invested into crypto. So it's 360 million people, 10%, that's 36 million people across the European Union, more or less, already invested into crypto. That's your target market if you want to provide crypto asset services under MiCAR. That's already relatively big, right? And we are not talking about scaling into gaining new customers, it's just the existing client base. If we put it into perspective and look how many people are already invested into traditional securities like stocks, bonds, and funds, makes the numbers even a bit more impressive, I would say, because again, only Germany, but roughly 20% of the German population are invested into traditional financial instruments, meaning there's only 7% points difference, right, between the 13 and the 20. If we look into the group of the youngest investors between 18 to 28, it is for Germany already the case that 16% are invested into crypto and only 14 into traditional financial instruments. So you could say if you really want to build up a customer acquisition product for the next generation of clients, crypto already might be more like a stronger customer acquisition product than it is traditional financial instrument brokerage today. And that kind of shows you do not have to build a market. There is a market, actually. You just have to address it. We have played around a bit with the numbers, and it's extremely difficult to predict the revenue potential of crypto asset services for the European Union. But I can tell you that it's at least something between 2.7 to 3.6 billion in the short term, meaning in the first year after MiCAR turns effective. Just taking into account, the general population average fee income from crypto asset services as we can observe them today in the market, and some other assumptions all derived from primary data that has been collected in a statistically significant and, let's say, valid approach. There's one comment maybe. This number heavily depends on the current total market volume of the crypto market, right? And I mean, prices are unpredictable, so we have a huge uncertainty in those revenue pools depending on whether the market will develop positively, negatively, or stay stable. But that's just a side comment. But in a nutshell, the market potential indeed is significant and it's existing. Some more good news for regulated financial institutions. Actually, you can use a fast track. That's called foreign authorization, meaning you do not have to go through a full application process if you want to provide MiCAR crypto services. And this authorization process, as I said before, has a clear timeline. So if you decide to apply, you have a relatively good, predictable timeline when you will either be rejected or approved to provide such services. So the whole thing turns effective for crypto asset services on the 30th of December this year. Again, I would not wait until that date if you really want to consider moving into that market, because license applications and authorization notifications can be indeed handed in before the 30th of December. I have to say that the exact date when notifications will be accepted by national competent authority is not publicly available today, at least not for the German market, but it will be the date most likely when the so-called CAMAC will turn effective in the German market. It had its second hearing first hearing in the German parliament, so it should not take too much it shouldn't take, we are probably talking about a couple of weeks, months, but it's definitely before the 13th of December that you actually can become active as a regulated bank, for example, and decide, hey, I want to hand in a notification to provide custody services for crypto assets under MiCAR, notably fulfilling all the requirements towards your business organization and your operations and processes that are stated in MiCAR. But that's relatively good timeline. So what should, and I'm coming to the end now of my presentation, what should financial institutions do from our point of view? I would be fast, actually, and define a MiCAR strategy and action plan. And this should cover questions like, what is my overall strategy towards crypto assets? I would try to really stop this limbo of, do I like crypto, do I dislike crypto? From my point of view, today banks have to argue why they start offering a crypto service. I think in 2 years' time from today on, board members have to argue why they do not have a crypto offering in place. I think that was planned. Yeah. Thanks, Sven. I always wanted to have a Sven moment, one of my presentations. Now I finally made it. Yeah, you should really think what products and services you want to offer and to which target clients. LBBW recently announced to provide crypto services together with with Bitpanda to, for example, only to corporate clients. I mean, that's a clear strategy. They probably have done their homework. What operating model do you follow? Do you want to provide such services on your own? Will you facilitate on your own technology and platform? Will you go into partnerships? What kind of processes in-house? Which one you want to source? All of those are questions you should ask yourself. How and when to start the authorization procedure? I talked about this before. And last but not least, what is my go-to-market strategy, right? Because when I start offering something, way too long we have stand here and have had talks that were more about, there might be a long-term business opportunity on the table. Here we talk about a real business opportunity and a real revenue case that turns effective in 2025, actually, and that's next year. So think about that one. If you want to learn more about MiCAR, we have written a white paper, and it's available under the QR code, or you can download from the presentation afterwards. Thank you very much.